was, how can we still continue to be there for you, and how could we now do it differently when we're all supposed to be in our little separate zones? And that was when we came up with the idea of the Link Up, because the technology is there that we're able to link with people from around the world to find out from them, what is life like for you? What's happening with you at this time of your life? And we touched base, oh my goodness, we touched base with South Africa, with Germany, you know, we've spoken to some of the movers and the shakers in the world. I remember one particularly interesting chat was with Baroness Scotland and the head of the Commonwealth. Brilliant. And I'm thinking that a year later it would be nice for us to, you know, make contact, and we're going to do that. We're going to set that in motion so we can see how she is doing and also how the Commonwealth is doing. Because it's important, I think, that around this time we recognize that even though we're a little dot in the ocean, we are still an integral part of this planet Earth. And what impacts the others certainly impacts us, and what impacts us eventually will spread out and impact them. So remember the phrase, no man is an island? Well, that is certainly true. And this pandemic has certainly shown that in all of its manifestations. For me, one of the special things coming out of the Link Up has been linking up with people and getting to know them and getting to see their strengths and how they have taken the pandemic and made it work for them and for their communities, for their families, and also for their countries. And one of the families that we linked up with, I think it might have been either late last year or earlier this year, was the Best family, and this was Kenneth Best. And Mr. Best comes from some amazing genes, journalistic genes. As a matter of fact, he created the Liberia Daily Observer, and his children have also followed in his footsteps. That day we spoke to Mr. Best. He had his daughter Lindowe Kumalo with him, and she was an author, she was also an activist, and she was also a journalist. And today we're going to have the opportunity, hopefully, because believe you me, they have come into the country and they are touching base with everyone, and their time is dwindling. So we are hoping that we get an opportunity to have them join us today. And I'm speaking of two of Mr. Best's sons, Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon and his son Rodney C.A. And they are, well, Rodney's a journalist as well, and he's an author. And Ambassador Witherspoon is a special envoy. He was a special envoy to South Africa. So, and this is Mr. Best's brother, and they have some interesting tales to tell. And I want to hold up something here. Liberia. I don't know if I'm doing this correctly, but I want you, no, this way, Peter. There you go. Take a look at that. It's on the west coast, and there you see it being bordered by Sierra Leone and Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire. and there is Liberia. And the interesting thing about Liberia is it was created by the Americans to find a spot to put slaves on. And we have a family from Barbados who moved to Liberia with a group of, I think it was some 360 something or 340 something immigrants. And they set up the country of Liberia. And some of our, Liberian descendants did pretty well for themselves. Some were presidents, and two of their sons are here, seeking their roots. One can understand that, to find out who they are and where they've come from. And hopefully they'll be joining us today. I just want to read a little bit about this story, though, because we might not get a chance to when we get the opportunity to chat with Rodney and also Ambassador Witherspoon. But from Barbados to Liberia is the story of the post-emancipation relocation of the John Prince Port family from Barbados to Liberia, West Africa. And I'm not talking in 19 anything, I am talking as early in 1862. Now, slavery would have ended some 30 years hence, and so this is at the extended invitation from the Liberian Parliament to persons of African descent from the islands of the West Indies to come and settle in Liberia. And then a follow-up invitation was sent in 1864, and it led to 346 emigrants from Barbados sailing to Liberia on April the 6th, 1865, following the signing of a treaty between the two countries. Isn't that amazing? Among them was John Prince Port, patriarch of the Port family of Liberia, a natural-born Barbadian, and 5 members of his family. It was just at the time the government of Barbados, in its desire to ensure the best representation by its citizens, undertook a very careful selection. I wonder what that vetting exercise was like, because we know that all those selected were Christian, but most of them were Episcopalian. What was that vetting like? And then the year before they arrived in Liberia, a delegation was dispatched to the Caribbean, headed by Edward Wilmot Blyden, a Liberian intellectual, a scholar, and a Secretary of State and college professor. He himself had come from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and they carried out this official proclamation. Think about it. If you, depending on your circumstances, got an opportunity to move to another continent, another place, another country, would you? Can you imagine that? Uprooting your family, packing up all your stuff, leaving all that's familiar behind, and literally going to another place. A place you'd heard of, a place you'd long, I'm sure, wanted to meet because you'd heard about your ancestors and where you were from. But what of picking up and moving everything and leaving people who are familiar behind? It's not really the best circumstances, though, living standards, poor standards, poor surroundings, but still familiar. What would that be like? So we got an opportunity to find out just what they have found out, their journey here. they've got a little less than 2 weeks in which to do it, and they've been meeting this morning. I think they're meeting with the Minister of Culture, and a little later on today they'll get an opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister. And in between there, they're going to give us a few minutes of their time. It should be interesting to find out just what they found about the Port family here in Barbados in the West Indies. So, looking forward to that chat. Today, we also have an opportunity to chat with our friend Dr. Belfield Burgess. And Dr. Burgess is an A&E consultant in a London hospital. And you do know, because you've been hearing the stories, that London and, well, the UK is right now facing an uptick in coronavirus surges because of these various variants. And so we just wanted him to help us make sense of it all. And he gave me some numbers in terms of the types of variants and so on, that they're no longer calling with country names. They're now giving them like alpha, beta, gamma, that sort of thing. Delta is the well-known one we're hearing a lot of, but hey, there's a Delta Plus. So, when is it all going to end? Who knows? The thing is, we've got to stay focused. And if I sound like a mama bear coming down at you guys right now, it's because, for one, my age, hello, I'm entitled. I feel very entitled to tell people when I see them, put on your mask. You know, and I say it just like that. Take it as you get it. Once I see you without it, my tactfulness sometimes goes through the door. You find that with you? You find that you're getting less tolerant, you know, of people who are just breaking the protocols and that don't seem to care? My goodness. You know, okay, respect to those who, for religious purposes, don't want to take the vaccine. For those who have other reasons for not taking it, I respect your right to make that choice. But in the same way, please respect my choice to try to be virus-free and to live this new normal in the best way I know how, masked up and hand sanitizing every single chance that I get. I told you all before, and I'm serious. Do you know how many people met me and said, Peter, I can't believe that you got Honey People's Television and said that. But I did, and I'm going to repeat it. I swear, I no longer have fingertips. I hand sanitize and hand sanitize. And if I don't think that you're sanitizing your trolleys, I will sanitize them for my hands. And then when I leave your place, before I go and touch my steering wheel, I sanitize again. Yeah, call me paranoid, but I have my reasons. And so should you. You know, protect yourself and protect me, please. I'm begging you, follow the protocols. We have been seeing some really, really crazy things coming up on social media. Although, mind you, we've got to be very careful that what we see on social media is real. Because sometimes people can send you images from eons ago that have absolutely nothing to do with what's happening now, just to stir up. I guess we'll deal with them on another day and another time. But, you know, what was the saying? You believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, or is it the other way around? Anyway, It's up to you, though, to keep yourself, your family, and the rest of the country safe. And I'm going to hold you to that. I still see people physically distancing when they're going into supermarkets and so on, and I still see the little small shops with the hand sanitizer and so on. Don't stop. Don't stop. It hasn't ended. It's still a very important part of our life story at this time. And think of what a testimony you're going to have, telling your grandchildren what you went through in the year of our Lord 2020 and 2021. Although I still think that 2021 is a clone of 2020 and it hasn't come yet. But think of what a story, what a tale you're going to be able to tell. Today also, I may be, you've got me for a little while, but it's just interesting how things happen. Technology sometimes can create some havoc. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that our guests will continue to get onto the video chat platform. And it's nice to know that we can get things started with a gentleman who is a musical icon. And when I found out that I was going to be chatting or getting the opportunity to chat with him, immediately I started to think of Lovers Rock and all of the music that he has been a part of for all the years. And I actually got a chance to chat with him briefly yesterday before we set up our chat for this morning. And he's got a sense of humor as big as his talent is, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Dennis Bovell, MBE. And we'll talk about that MBE in a little bit after the break.
sun keeps on shining on Barbados, island of love. Fish gliding on the breeze, birds singing in the trees. Yes, it's nice paradise. People living lives at ease, boats sailing on tranquil seas. Yes, it's nice paradise. Walking down Broad Street one day, I heard somebody proudly say, this island is a blast, north, south, east, and west. We welcome visitors from everywhere to our island, and we all share. When they go, they wanna come back here again and again. To Barbados, island of love, Barbados, island of love where there's warm breeze blowing, the sun keeps on shining on Barbados, island of love.
Yes, Barbados, my island of love. I think that I'm getting in there, you know, some wonderful memories of perhaps a really incredible childhood, especially when you think of the parish that Mr. Bovell comes from, but I'll let him share that with us. Good morning, sir. It's certainly nice to have you join me on the Link Up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yesterday, you shared some interesting stories with me about your family. And congratulations, first of all, by the way, on the award of your MBE, the Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, in the Queen's 2021 birthday honors. We're going to talk about that. But I wanna go back to come forward. I wanna talk about those early days and those memories of your family with the really strong names that meant that they were going to be somebody.
That's right. I was born in Rose Hill, St. Peter, and grew up in Ben's Hill. Grew up in Speightstown, in Ashton Hall, all over St. Peter. I went to school at Speightstown Boys School to begin with when I lived on Queen Street in Speightstown. Then we moved up the hill, as we call it, up to Ben Hill. And then I went to All Saints School, Boys School up there on the hill there by Ebbeth. And started my secondary education at Corismpari before leaving Barbados to join my parents who were already in London.
Right. What was it like back then? What was life like back then for a small boy who entered, I think you said, secondary school at the age of 10?
That's right. Corismpari. Well, I had some tall shoes to fill because two of my uncles had already been to Mona in Jamaica, and one studied mathematics and was a professor of mathematics in the University of Ontario for a number of years, and the other one studied physics and chemistry and became a professor of physics and chemistry and was heavily involved with the Solar Energy Project. And his name was Professor Dr. Oliver Sinclair Headley, who was a professor at UWI before his death. And so having people like that who were two Barbados scholars in the family and having an uncle who was the accountant to the federal government in Ottawa, and you know, people like that in my family, I had to step up to the mark. Well, I didn't think I was going to be an academic, but my mother's youngest brother, Samuel Rudolph Headley, he thought that it would be a good idea to teach me music, to teach me to play the guitar in particular, to keep me off the streets, as it were, from, you know, being a vagrant. And I thank him very much for that, because I got heavily into music. And in fact, it was like I was, you know, only destined to be a musician.
Wow.
Because at the age of 13, when I arrived in London, I found some boys who had a group and needed a fourth member. So I applied, and I found out that I had the edge on them, because I knew a little bit more about the thing than they did. So I found myself giving some of my knowledge to them, and then being the fourth member of this band at the age of 13. And we did, you know, quite a lot of gigs and shows. In fact, by the time we were 15, we had entered into a talent competition in a place in London called Vauxhall. And we came third. And so the press were really interested in this young band of boys that came third out of 50 entrants, you know. And we got quite a lot of the space that was, the group that won only had a little column, but we got like 5 paragraphs.
Wow.
You know, and photos and everything. It was as though we had won because, you know, of 15-year-old boys.
What genre were you playing? What type of music were you playing?
At that time, we were playing rock and pop. A favorite number of ours was that song of Eddie Grant's, Baby Come Back.
Baby Come Back.
In fact, I was just speaking recently to Eddie and reminded him about some of those days, you know, reminiscing on that. And then after a while, I had a friend whose name was George Pennant. He said to me, "Dennis, what's all this Hendrix business? There's only one Jimi Hendrix, and it ain't you." And I got a little bit offended by that. I thought, I'm a pretty good guitar player, you know. In Ben's Hill, there were a lot of good guitar players. I mean, namely Hoddy Fenty from the group The Chisels, and Andrew Phillips, who went to live in New York. These are the people that I grew up amongst in Mile and a Quarter. And they were really good guitarists, and I was trying to be as good as them in London, where I had the edge on boys my age, because I'd been playing for a bit longer than them. Mm-hmm. And so at the challenge of becoming a reggae band, because reggae was thought of as being some kind of elusive beat that not many people knew how to do. But because my uncles had studied in Jamaica, when they came home for semesters, they would bring Jamaican music and we would listen to it. And when I got to London, my father had what we'd call a sound system. And he worked for London Transport. And therefore, they didn't have much time for recreation. So they created their own. So maybe every once a month, there would be a party at our house, and my dad would bring his records out, and he had a huge collection of records spanning right across the board. And he had quite a lot of reggae. Well, it was ska at the time, Prince Buster, and Toots and the Maytals.
Can you give us a little musical session right now, in the sense that you said that some people found reggae difficult to play? What was so difficult about it? And good morning, Rosalie. Thank you for joining us today.
I think that the difficulty in reggae was understanding it. A lot of people knew how to dance to it, but how to play it, and what you played and what you didn't play, and when to play and when not to play.
I'm not a musician, so you're teaching me now. So there's a time to play and when not to play.
That's right. There's the emphasis on the third beat of the bar, and that is referred to as one drop. You know, when you
Ah,
hear
feel
Bob
it
Marley
in the
say, "We
one
feel it
drop.
in the one drop," yes, and we still got time to
Time for
rock.
a yes,
Yes, so feel this drum beat, brah,
Ram.
you know, and
Oh, I'm
so
learning
it's all
things
about where
today.
the drum beat is, you know, and
One drop.
being a Caribbean person, I found it relatively easy to understand all the music of the region because my grandfather was the choir master at Seventh Day Adventist Church in Mile and a Quarter, and he taught music to all his children. Even my mother reads choral music, you know,
Wow.
and my sister was until recently the organist at St. Lucy's Parish Church for many years. So there's music all over the family.
Wow. That's amazing. And so that just now just blew my mind, the whole idea of the one drop, and I knew immediately what you were talking about. But
Right.
ska was almost I can hear it in my ear, you know, and then I can hear the skin that kind
Well,
of
it's a
beat.
faster tempo.
Right,
Ska
right.
is a faster tempo, and our own Jackie Opel had a
Exactly.
hand in the invention of that.
Yes.
And for a long time, until his very untimely death at the early age of 27 or something, I think Jackie Opel passed away at, he was into making what we would like to call spooge.
Right.
And he was the master of that. But it's incredibly difficult to play spooge from the musician's point of view. Like you play a tone and a semitone, tone and a semitone. I mean, the Jamaicans had this rock steady that was ding 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 ding, right? That was their rock steady beat. But then spools now that for a guitarist you have to be really accomplished to play. And I think lots of people gave up trying to do it in the end. But when I decided to make a reggae band, people thought of it as professional suicide
Why?
because at that time reggae was a bit frowned on. It was a
It
kind of
was
a backroom beat.
revolutionary, right?
Yeah. So I figured, yo, I want a piece of that. I want to be in the forefront of the revolution. I want to blow down the walls of Jericho.
What did your family think at the time? Were they the ones who were thinking you were a lunatic to do that?
That's right. I mean, a lot of my family in Barbados would be like, okay, we get it. You're a musician. But why reggae? And I was like, well, you're going to see that beat is infectious. It's going to take over the world someday.
Quite.
And I wasn't wrong.
Nope, you weren't. We're going to continue chatting with Mr. Dennis Bovell. Interesting how music develops and how it impacts people, the people who actually play it. You know, it can change their lives forever. We'll find out how when we come back.
Babylon must fall, fall, fall Babylon. Righteous is the writing on the wall. Babylon must fall. Jah know the wicked are go feel it and fall, fall, fall Babylon. Warrior are go respond to the cause. Babylon must fall.
Babylon must fall. And we did say that. Okay, we can take it out. We did say that reggae, it's a music of the people. It's music of protest, but it's also the music of love. And here you are now, getting involved in reggae, and you are in South London, I do believe, at the time.
That's right.
So what was the scene like then in South London? And just take a look here from one of our Facebook friends who's saying, please let you know that Andrew Phillips is still playing music in New York. He's a very good friend of our viewers' family, Rosalie Burke.
Okay, yes. I'm still in touch with Andrew Phillips too myself.
Excellent.
So thank you for that.
Excellent. That's the beauty about social media, and touching base and finding one another after years. So it's South London. It's what era? The mid or early 70s? Okay.
Early 70s. I'm just leaving school and starting this band and touring around the UK with visiting Jamaican artists like Pat Kelly, Ken Booth, Johnny Clark, people like that, Toots and the Maytals, Dennis Brown. My band is backing these people. And so we're thinking, this is a good, what's the word? It's a good calling card. It's a good CV to be involved with all those people who entrusted their backing to us when they came to London.
What was the name of your band?
My band was called Matumbi.
Matumbi. Did it have a meaning?
Matumbi. It's a word from the Yoruban language that means reborn.
Nice.
And I figured we were being reborn here, playing a new style of music and getting into it and creating my own style of that music, which later became known as Lovers Rock.
Tell us about that, because now that you're tutoring me in the varying pauses that one makes when one comes in, when one doesn't come in, when one drops and when one doesn't drop, how did you shift and make reggae then softer and, I don't know, sexier?
Well, I've always been a fan of people like Gregory Isaacs, Dennis Brown, John Holt, people who sang love songs in reggae. I always wanted to write my own reggae love songs. So I started out writing songs and including young ladies and inviting young ladies to be the lead focal part of what I was writing. I wrote songs for girls. And it was very successful writing songs because a lot of the young girls were just at the back in the chorus, you know. And I thought that we needed a Diana Ross. We needed a Gladys Knight. You know, we needed a Roberta Flack.
Right.
You understand, in the reggae field. So I set out to write songs to accommodate these young girls. And one of them was Marie Pierre, was my first student. And then girls called 15, 16, 17. And then some other girls called Brown Sugar. And then once I'd written and produced the song Silly Games and found the singer Janet Kay to sing it, the rest has been our
It was
history.
history.
Because that song has bubbled to the forefront of this genre and has forged, I think, the anthem position.
Right. But this is Britain. This is the UK we're talking about, the UK music scene. How then were you recognized or accepted then back home in the Caribbean? What was that journey like?
Well, in 86 probably, 84, I had the privilege of releasing on World, West Indies Records Limited, my stuff that I released in London on EMI Records. And I released a song called Reggae High. And one of the producers at CBC said to me, I forget what her name is actually, said, you should do a video of this. And I was like, yeah, when? She said, now. And she dragged me into the back and we did a quick
I wish we
video.
could find it though. Yeah.
Yes, it was made at CBC and the song was called Reggae High.
Wow. And what was the reception like?
Oh, it was awesome. Because my neighbors, or my grandparents' neighbors, who knew that I lived in London and I was some kind of musician, but didn't know exactly what it was that I did, they found out. And Elombe Motley invited me to play at the Cohoblopot at the National Stadium. Mm-hmm. And I had a band that was made up of all these young kids that had been tutored by Janice Millington. And some Harrisonians, some Combermere kid. Let me see, Arturo Tappan was playing saxophone. And Boo Husbands was on trombone. And Ian Allen Hoggett
oh
was
my
the
goodness,
guitarist.
on guitar.
And yeah, and in fact, I put that band together to do a concert in Queen's Park one time while I was having an interview with Alfred Pragno on Rediffusion and saying, right, I'm going to do a concert in Queen's Park. He said, you can't say that, boy, listen, you got to get permission to do all this anything. I said, well, we're going to have a concert. And then after the concert, I was on the plane to London, so they can't lock me up.
Those are the memories that they can't take away from you. Not
Nicholas Branca was
at all.
Awesome musician.
Yeah.
And I always knew that they would become Barbados' best. And in fact, I was the sound engineer that recorded Arturo Tappan's first album in London. His first album was recorded in London in the studio with me.
Right.
And, you know, in fact, just recently, as I was making music for Steve McQueen's program, the Small Axe program, Arturo was in London and I dragged him into the studio to grace me with some of his wonderful sax playing.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your studio. Let's talk about your sound mixing system and the changes and the impact that you made on those coming up. Share that with us.
Well, after we started displaying that reggae could be recorded and made in London, there was a talent competition in Birmingham in the Midlands where I was invited to be a judge. And the winners of the competition, the prize would be a day in the studio with me. And the winners of that competition are a group by the name of Steel Pulse.
Ooh.
And so therefore Steel Pulse, the first time Steel Pulse was in the recording studio, it was with me as sound engineer and producer, and we recorded Handsworth Revolution, which was the title of their first album.
Yeah. I never knew that.
Then there were other groups that I put. At the time, I was producing not only reggae, but pop and punk bands. There was the first British all-girl female punk band called The Slits. I recorded their new album and was the producer of that. And another group called The Pop Group. And then came the poet Linton Kwesi Johnson, who was a young man that I, heard his, but he was his mentor was Edward, Thomas Brassett, which is a man that
Right.
spent a lot of time in South Florida, where
Dennis,
I grew up.
Dennis, I'm going to have to ask you to pause a minute because something's all of a sudden gone wrong with your sound.
Sound.
Yeah. So what I can do.
Oh, there was someone trying to call me that I didn't.
Okay. You know what? Let's play that song that came out of the pandemic. You're there? Okay. Because I was saying that we could share the song that made me say, oh, he's still around. This is fantastic. The one in the pandemic that you did with Blood and David Shepherd and
okay.
Yeah, you mind if we go to break with that?
Ian Allen said
Ian Allen as well. Yeah.
He said that to me and said, I want you to introduce this song. I said, okay, no problem. He said, no, I want you to introduce it on video. So I was like, okay, you get in trouble, boy.
There's a story in everything because Ian Allen, David Shepherd, the same Boo Husbands, I'm thinking Gregory, can't remember it, but David Jordan, we were at BCC together and we had a group called Communique. And
and Glenn played drums, huh?
Right. And Marilyn was, and I were on female lead, and so yeah, the story goes real. So he sent me that and I was freaking out. So I would just like to share it with everyone before we go to break. When I realized that, yeah, you were still around and you were still going strong. This is great.
Here comes the man, internationally known as Ian. He looking for cover.
Find me.
We're chatting with Mr. Dennis Bovell, MBE, and we are just thoroughly enjoying our session here. Couple teachable moments, definitely learning how music is put together, and having some really great respect for musicians. I don't think that we truthfully respect their artistry enough and their talents enough. We see the final product, but what goes into that product is a whole next another story. And we were chatting with Mr. Bovell about his studio and some of the groups that came out of that studio, Steel Pulse being one. What was the name of the studio?
My studio was called Studio 80.
Studio 80, and was there a reason why?
Studio 80. It was 80 because I built it in 1980. And whilst it was being built, I had a telephone call from someone in Japan who said, "I hear you're building a studio." Yes, was my response. "I want to use it," said the caller. I said, "Fine. I mean, when it's ready, we can hook up and do something." And he said to me, "No, you don't understand. I want to use your studio before you do." And I was like, "That's a strange request." And so came a Japanese performer by the name of Ruichi Sakamoto, who was the principal player of a Japanese band called Yellow Magic Orchestra. And he was doing his first solo album, and he wanted to do it with me in London, in my studio. I was honored. And when the first time I went to Japan, I was catapulted into like big star status. People were bowing down and stuff.
And this was all because of him. And you're yes.
And since then, I've produced several Japanese groups, including a group called Dub Sense Mania, another one called Tokyo Star Paradise Orchestra, and a singer called Sandy. She spells her name Sandii, because her mom's Japanese and her father was Irish, and she was born in Hawaii, brought up in Hawaii, and then went to live in Japan, became a big star, moving around with people like David Bowie and that. And I just before lockdown in 2019, I just finished her next album, which is yet to be kind of exposed because of the whole Corona thing. But the album's called Hula Dub, because in the meantime, this lady has become a hula master, and she teaches hula dancing and has 3 different studios all over Japan where she teaches young girls hula.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about the people that you have worked with, you've interacted with, and cross-cultural, yet your music stays strong to its roots, grounded in its roots. How important is that to you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Sure. I said when you mention the various people that you've worked with and you've interacted with, and you are not just talking about people from one particular country or one type of individual, how do you stay grounded to your beliefs, to your truths, and to who you are?
When I talk to myself in Beijing. That's how you stay grounded. You say, "Boy, you don't do that," or "Boy, this is the thing." You understand? When I talk to myself in the way how I learn how to talk as a baby, that grounds me. Or when I speak to myself as if it was my grandmother talking.
Right.
Dennis, listen, go and do. You understand? That's when I'm grounded. Because I work all over the world, in Argentina.
Exactly.
In fact, the music for that video, Barbados Island of Love, was supplied by an Argentinian band This band I met whilst I was in Argentina. I did a song with a group called Los Cafres that, scaled the top of the charts and made me quite popular in Argentina. And then there's this group called Dancing Mood Orchestra. There's about 30 or 40 people. And they came to London and wanted to do a lovers rock album. And I got lots of people that I knew in London that sang that style and let them sing on Dancing Mood's album. They made an album called Non-Stop, and it's 3 CDs. And then I sent them the music for Barbados Island of Love and said, lads, can you put this together for me in ska? Because I wanted Biggie Irie to sing that.
Mm-hmm.
And when they sent it back to me, I did what I thought, this is the demo, I'll send it to Biggie. And someone said to me, listen, you, Ma, put out that you said. So sorry, Biggie.
I hope he's listening, because I did tell him I'd be chatting with you today. But
no, Biggie is my bona fide brethren.
He's a sweetheart. He really is. And he's been blessed with an incredible voice. Oh my goodness.
I agree.
I dream even bigger things for him, and I certainly hope that they happen. But okay, so we're talking about traveling. You mentioned Japan, you mentioned Argentina, but even in your music, you travel to bigger and grander things, not just writing a discography. Perhaps you have written movie scores, so share that with us, please.
At the end of the 70s, there was a film director who came to see me about writing the music for a script that he had, and the script was called Babylon. And so I set out to make music for this movie, and it has become a bit of a cult film. In fact, they never released it in America until 2 years ago, which is like 39, 40 years after it was made. America refused to let it out. They said because of the violent content, where someone black had stabbed someone white, and they hadn't been brought to book for it. And for them, that couldn't work in America. If someone did that, they had to be seen in jail, paying and all that. And so the director refused to change the end of the film, and the Americans refused to put it out until 2018 or 2019. And then they released it in America, and it was widely accepted and received, Yeah, the soundtrack is about to make a resurgence.
Yeah, sorry, I just got caught there with trying to ask my director to look here a minute, please. But because I think that the music is revolutionary, and perhaps when you put it with the violence of the movie itself, it was too much for them to handle. And also the fact that
a psychologist, who was present at the viewing of the film, analyzed it for me. And in America, you can see white on white, white on black, but you can't. White guys kill black guys, but if a black guy kills a white guy, he has to go to jail for that.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. So, talk to me about the softer side of Mr. Dennis B.
The softer side.
Softer side. I mean, hey, part creator of Lovers Rock. There's got to be a softer side, a romantic side? There's only music.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've been just involved with a group from Switzerland, and this group is called Spanish Dub Dancers. And the drummer, Daniel Spanny, is also the drummer in my dub band when I did backing for Linton Kwesi Johnson, the poet. So he's got this band in Switzerland, and he put together some tracks. And I went to help compose the lyrics and the melody in English. And so up to now, we've done, I don't know, some 10 songs. Like, there's one I sent you yesterday called Try Again.
Yeah, can we hear a little bit of that, guys? The one Try Again. It's a really, really beautiful one. Try Again.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, but talk to me while we get that sorted out.
Yeah, and I've been, creating this music for female singers, and then I thought to myself, maybe I should sing a couple of them, because I have to do the demonstration anyway to demonstrate the song. So I just thought, for this one, I'll leave my voice on.
They can bring it up a little. This is Try Again.
You sure look fine. So fine. Was so good to see you last evening. Yeah. I just was dropping you a line. One more time. Well, just like I promised, is to keeping in touch.
Sweet.
Confirming that I
Late
still care for
evening, you can bring down the lights and perhaps have some wine and listen to that on your system. But all jokes aside, I was trying to be nosy, but it didn't work. Yes, I know that there's a softer side in your music, but I was talking about the softer side in your life.
Yeah, I'm a father of 6, a grandfather of 9.
So there had to be a
and
softer side, right?
great-grandfather of 3.
Congratulations.
Yes, at my tender age of 68, I've become a great-grandfather.
God
3 times
dear.
over.
God dear.
So my grandchildren are at the crease batting.
So
Not out.
not out. So have they, inherited the genes? Any of them?
Well, I wait to see. One of my granddaughters has become a black belt in martial arts, and she sings wonderfully. I'm just waiting for the time when I can take her into the studio without disturbing her, academic life.
Right.
Because I know that once you get into the recording studio and you start singing, academic measures kind of slip a little bit because music is so infectious.
Yeah. But how does one balance that though, Dennis? How do you balance your life, which I know musicians consider music their life, but with life?
Well, I actually take them around with me. I have taken them around with me in the last 40 years. To concerts, to tours, to let them see what it is that Dad does.
Right.
And
That's important.
My eldest son, who went to Westminster University and graduated as a musician, decided straight after that he was going to become a policeman. And then after 3 years in the Metropolitan Police Force, he resigned and went back to university to study theology, and then became a a Seventh-day Adventist minister and was posted to Copenhagen in Denmark, where he is now, and speaks Danish. You know, he's got 2 children there, and he's making a music life for himself. If anybody would care to go to Bobby Bovell, you would see his musical work. In fact, he plagued me until I agreed to do a duet with him, a song called Love, Love. And we made a video, and it was entered for the video awards in 3 categories, and it won all 3 of them. And he said, "Dad, let's go and get our prize." I was like, "No, you go and get your prize."
No, that's amazing, though. I would love to hear some of your conversations, you know, about life, about music, about religion. That must be some interesting chat when you all do get together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my son said to me, "Dad, promise me you won't ever say wiki." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, if you use that word, wiki, you know, people go, 'Yeah, man, wicked.'" No, when you do that, you're bringing the devil into your life. What you should say is, "Yeah, righteous." So now I never say wiki, I go, "Yeah, righteous."
Righteous. Okay. So he's impacted you as well, which is a good thing. What have you seen over the years, though, Dennis, when it comes to the movement of music and its changes, not only in its musical structure, but in the business of it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought about the change in the business of music, it has to be a change for the better. Because until now, people had to rely on record companies to exploit and real exploitation, to exploit their work, right? And now you've got the possibility of going directly to the public, and if they want to buy your music, they buy it, and the you know the money comes directly to you if you know how to set up a Bandcamp site. There's a site called Bandcamp, and you can go and upload your music there, and people download it if they want it, and the funds come directly to you. You don't have to wait for half a year before someone tells you, "Oh, you didn't make any money."
Right. And are you there?
You know.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
No, I meant your music.
I'm here.
You've put some of your music there on Bandcamp?
Of course, yeah. If anybody would like to go to bandcamp.com, Dennis Bovell, I've been putting up my own music, the things that I've done, and you can download it and pay, I don't know, 99 pence per song, or I've got some albums on there. Go to Dennis Bovell Bandcamp.
Okay. I'll remind them to do that. What are some of the challenges that you face, though? I would like to hear, you know, living in the UK and you know, bringing out music that is perhaps considered revolutionary in some spheres. What were your challenges? And I'm going to find out after we take a...
Well, the challenge was...
Yeah, quick break.
The general public in the UK...
Right.
To say, yeah, we like what you're doing.
Ah, okay.
So
we'll deal with that.
I went on several tours of the UK with several pop performers, notably one by the name of Ian Drury. He had a group called Ian Drury and the Blockheads.
And the Blockheads.
He's no longer alive. I had the pleasure of holidaying with him in Barbados some 30, 40 years ago. And this guy was immensely popular in the UK. So I went around the UK with him, Matumbi opening the show for him. And we went from playing to 1,000 people a night to 20,000 people a night. and toured the whole of the UK. And then a man by the name of Edwyn Collins invited me to work with him, and he's a Scotsman, Edwyn Collins. So I did 2 albums with his group Orange Juice, and then I did another 4 albums or so with him, and that was pop music. So I went around the UK and Europe playing with these guys, and at the same time introducing what it was that I did. So they kind of held the door open for me. You know?
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and then we come back. You know, we're going to talk some more. Definitely the challenges of living as a colored person in a country which, you know, has had a reputation sometimes of creating some problems.
Brutality.
Yep, I was trying to be tactful. However, we're going to find out about that when we come back.
Well, alright. Run, come, catch this one. Jump into the sound of the champion.
Chatting this morning with Mr. Dennis Bovell, recently awarded in the Queen's 2021 birthday honors, the most excellent order, a member of the most excellent order of the British Empire. And he did receive the Pride of Barbados Award from the Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Amor-Motley, and I do believe that was in 2020. Yes, early 2020. So it's interesting to note that this son of the soil has, you know, taken the message of his family, his grandmother, the grounding that he got in that family, taken it to heart, and has taken it with him, and has been doing things worldwide which can gain him the recognition of a member of the most excellent order of the British Empire. Dennis Bovell, it's great having you with us. We were talking about the challenges that you were facing. And I know, because I've chatted with some of them, the difficulties that they had renting homes or renting spaces, getting jobs, that sort of thing. But you were in the musical side of things. What were your challenges?
Well, my challenge was at school in 1968, we had a recording studio built. Now, during the building of this studio, it was used, the building was all the black boys under the pretext of teaching them carpentry, masonry, and all that to build the studio. That they were quite happy to have black boys in the school participate in the building of the studio. However, when the studio was being operated, there was not a black person in sight in them white coats in the studio. So I went up there one day, knocked on the door, put on a white coat and said, right, as far as I'm concerned, all of us lot built this studio, and there's none of us in the operating part of it. So, of course, I was reported to the headmaster for trying to pull a coup like that. And I told him, I said, sir, I said, in the building of this studio, right, there was lots of black labor. Now it's being operated and people are being afforded the knowledge of how it works. There are none of us inside. I am the representative of all the black boys in this school, and we have decided that one of us, namely me, should be in here to get this knowledge. And he thought about it for a second and said, I think I'll let you stay, but if you make one mistake, you'll be for the high jump, my lad.
If you made one mistake, what kind of mistake he was looking for?
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what mistakes you could make there. I suppose mash up the equipment. You know, but why would you want to mash up the equipment that you're learning something from? And
Exactly.
I had an idea that I was going to be a musician of note, and the school had a full orchestra in which I played the contrabass. And the studio wasn't built for the music department. It was built for the drama department to avail the drama department of sound effects, etc. So I had to get in there on that. And then it stood me in good stead because when I was later on recording, I could say to the engineer, move over, chap, you're not doing what I want, and then do it myself.
I like that. I like that.
I mean, and then later on when I went to work for the BBC, the BBC had a sitcom called Empire Road, which my group had done the theme song for. When we were recording the theme song, they gave us 3 microphones to record the drums with. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, well, that's all the microphones you can have because the BBC orchestra is recording in the next studio and they've got all the, you know, they've got all the equipment there. So I went in through the back door and helped myself with some, you know, microphones I wanted to do the recording. You know, I just took the microphones that I wanted. And the BBC orchestra were at lunch. And we were recording and we were told we couldn't use those microphones because so I just went and got them anyway.
Wow. What was it like though, working for the BBC? That was a whole different,
it was
different setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very different. In fact, I did a show with the BBC called Rock School. And in this school, the Rock School program, I'm demonstrating how to do dub music and reggae, you know, drum and bass, dub. And one of the student that I'm telling it to is Herbie Hancock.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock's there with a clipboard writing down all, and I mean, when he introduces me, and I saw it, I nearly fainted. He's going, Herbie Hancock is going, and now Dennis Bovell is going to demonstrate the dub technique. And I was like, wow, was that Herbie Hancock that just said my name? I was like, rewind, say that again. Let me get a special clip of Herbie Hancock going, Dennis Bovell.
No, that's awesome. No, that's really great. So how did the class go?
Very well. In fact, it was shown all over the US. I only got a chance to see it when someone in America said to me, hey, did you see that program, Rock School? You're in it with Herbie Hancock. Yeah. Send me a copy of that. Then immediately after that, I was working with the Nigerian boss, Fela Kuti. Fela Kuti came to London. Bass frequency was distorted. It was, you know. So to save the day, I grabbed the bass guitar and I played the bass line, replayed the bass line. And to be thankful to me, they put on the record, bass, Dennis Bovell. And a lot of friends were like, how did you play bass of a live recording? Did you play from the console? I was like, no, the bass was an overdub after the effect, and I didn't expect them to put my name there. I thought, I just do this to save the day.
Right.
But I'm glad they did it now because I can say truthfully and then point to that's my name on that record. I played the bass.
Nice.
Fela Kuti.
Wow. I must look for that. Tell me, Dennis, over all of the years, who are the people who have impacted on your life, who've influenced you the most, and the people who, for you, will never be forgotten?
Stevie Wonder, number one. The Mighty Sparrow, number two. The Most Honorable Gabby Carter, number three. Eddie Grant, number four. Ray Charles. Let me see who else. Sam Cooke. I'm sorry. I can't see myself because my face is frozen.
Oh, we can see you though. You're
I don't
perfectly
know why.
fine.
Don't worry. If you can see me, that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You've mentioned, wow, some incredible names in there. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, and of course, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. You were told to stop playing so much, Jimi Hendrix, because you'd
Yeah.
never be him. But
The
why
Wild Man
Stevie
of the
Wonder?
Axe. Why?
Yeah, I'm now asking you the
Why
whys.
Stevie Wonder?
Why Stevie?
Because for me, as a black performer, never mind, you know, his inability to see what we can see visually, he can see from inside his shell.
Yeah,
And it's evident by the songs he's written
yeah,
that he's one of the most creative composers ever to have graced Earth. And, you know, his songs are just incredible. I love the way he plays the piano and, you know, his outlook on life.
definitely. I can see that. Well, I know why the most honorable, Gabby, and I can well imagine Eddie Grant. You know, I can see Ray Charles. We're talking now the well, crossover jazz idiom, for want of a
Yep.
better description. Why Ray?
Growing up in Ben Hill, when Ray Charles had his day, when he was, my neighbor had a record player and would play Ray Charles very loud to annoy grandparents because it was on a Saturday, when Adventists go to church, right? And the Friday night is the Sabbath. And the Friday night is when the boys in the neighborhood drink rum and play music loud. So Ray Charles and the Drifters were two performers that I heard so much of as a kid before I even left Barbados.
Right.
And of course, the Mighty Sparrow, the king.
Yes, the king. Okay. Dennis, I'd like to thank you. There's so much more that I can touch on. Those days with your mother's family, because you say they're not your cousins, but the late Owen Seymour Arthur, and of course Mr. Hainsley Benn.
He was a cousin, a relative of mine.
Yeah, you always say that.
And also Ainsley Benn. Ainsley Benn was the person who escorted me to school when I first attended Coleridge and Parry, where we all went there. All the boys from Ben Hill went to Coleridge and Parry, and to have relatives in my family that made it politically in Barbados is encouraging.
Right. Okay. What I enjoy about you, even more than your music, is your sense of humor. And I thank you so much. I cannot believe that the hour has gone by so quickly. And I do hope that we get an opportunity to chat again and to share some more of you with the Link Up viewers. As a matter of fact, you have definitely impacted me, because next week I'm going to have a full session on Lovers Rock, and I'm sure that your name is going to be in there a lot. Jeffrey Jeffrey Cordell, of course, Biggie Irie, as he's better known, is going to be one of the people joining us, and Professor Mike Allen. His mind is like an encyclopedia, an entire building, you know, of music knowledge. And Whitfield, your friend, is going to be joining us as well, Whitfield Batson. So please watch. We'll be, I'm sure, talking your name quite a bit. But thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was definitely
Mr.
a pleasure.
Allen is a very good friend of mine from years when he was studying in London.
Michael, yes. Okay.
No, what was he singing there now? No, I probably got the wrong Allen.
Sorry, I missed what you said. I missed what you said. No, you said Allen.
No,
and
I was talking about Professor Allen.
Professor Allen, yes, Michael.
The singer. What was his name?
The singer? Sorry,
I'll remember soon.
Yeah, and I didn't hear what you said, so I can't be of any help. But I still want to say thank you so much. This has been an honor.
Thank you for having me on.
And I look forward to the next time.
Adonijah.
Adonijah, that's right. That's right, yes. Yes.
Adonijah.
He's the other London, he's the other Peter Allen, he would tell you. He calls me namesake. But spelled differently. So. Anyway, Rosalie is saying such wonderful stories that you've shared, and this was a great morning for her listening to you. So thank you for that.
For me too.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you and have a blessed day.
You stay safe. Okay. Remember at the beginning of this show, I was telling you about from Barbados to Liberia, and I gave you some of the background. I told you a little bit about the year. It was around 1864, I do believe, 1862, 64. And I mentioned that there were some 340 something Barbadians who made their way from here to there at the invitation of the Liberian government. And I did say that there was a family, the family of John Prince Port, who left Barbados and moved to Liberia. Well, we have the opportunity now to chat with members of the family who are here from Liberia, and they're retracing their roots. And I had the pleasure to chat with Kenneth Best and Linda Way earlier in the year, And so it's nice to know that their family is here and they're going to be joining us now. We've got Rodney C.A., who's a journalist and an author. And we have Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon. Welcome, gentlemen. It's nice to have you join us on the Link Up. It's good to see you.
Good to be here.
Excellent. So, Ambassador, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What prompted you all to do this? Well, I know what prompted you, but at this particular time.
Well, we thought, first of all, thank you for having us on the show.
You're welcome.
We've been doing a research for the last 8 years, my daughter and I, and the collaboration of Rodney and many other family members. And we were able to publish the first part of our findings last 2 years ago, 2 Octobers ago, actually. And of course, we had planned to come here for a wee gathering, which COVID did very well in making that happen. We have been working in close collaboration with Professor Matthew Riley of City College of New York, an anthropologist and historian. He has been helping us and guiding us with our research work, archival work. And he called and said he was coming down here for 10 days, and if we could make it, that would be great. So with all I live in Switzerland, Rodney lives in Liberia. But with all the COVID restrictions all over the place, and with no flights going into Liberia, to London from Geneva, getting a flight was very, very challenging. At the 9th hour, we were able to get a secure flight for me coming from Geneva to London to connect to here. Rodney already come from Sierra Leone into Liberia, and so here we are. We thought it would be a good opportunity, and indeed it has turned out to be a tremendous opportunity, being here at the time that Professor Matt Riley, who knows the island inside out, who has also been to Liberia on many occasions doing work related to the Liberia-Barbados relation. And he's been very useful in taking us around, in facilitating meetings for us. And I must say, I feel just like I'm home in Barbados, as though I was in Kosovo in Liberia.
Interesting. Rodney, I know that you have written a book, and I understand that there are some. You managed a few copies to get them here to Barbados, but this journey, especially for you, what has it been like?
Well, Heather, you read these things in the history books and you research them, and you go back as far as the 1800s when the ship went to Liberia, and the efforts that the likes of London-born an advocate and activist in Barbados played in making sure that the process leading to the arrival of Barbados, the Bajans to Liberia, was in full force. And after he died, his son Josh took up the mantle, and the process continued. It's been a long journey that I think, as we look toward uniting with our ancestors' families, I think it sends a message of hope, a message that Africa and the Caribbean can come together and not just unite, but also explore opportunities in culture, business, and other aspects of life, which is important to rekindling the historical ties we both share.
Right. There were so many different types of artisans who left here and moved to Liberia. I understand that there were tailors and confectioners and teachers and bootmakers and so on. What was your family in terms of their talents, what they were taking to Liberia? They were what? Teachers?
Mostly Prince, for example, Prince Port was a sugar boiler. He was
Okay.
very he was known for making rum, and I think that was one of the first major trade that was taken to Liberia through him. And after he left, that continued in a sense. Others, found other aspects of their life to join, like the teaching, farming, and those things were very essential to making sure that these things happen. They also share a major um, tie with religion in terms of the churches. The Christ Church here in Barbados, which is popular, is also in Cruzoville, where the Barbados landed. We have the same Christ Church. There's so much similarity with the food, the culture, and the people, mannerism, and all that. So it's very important for that to be part of the legacy of this work we've been doing all these years.
Right. Ambassador, when they left here, where did they settle? They would be leaving a warm Caribbean island and going to another continent. And what did they find? What was the weather like there? Was it similar? Were they finding similar circumstances, topography? Where did they settle?
Well, everything was well planned. And thanks to those who were part of the Barbadian Society for Liberia, as it was called. The government of Liberia had already demarcated land in Cruzoville for the immigrants, and as they were called. And but when they arrived, some of them, after staying a little while in Cruzoville, decided they wanted to move to Monrovia. Indeed, there were those, Monrovia is the capital city. Indeed, there were those that decided no, they wanted to go down to Sierra Leone. So some of them even left and went to Sierra Leone. But Liberia and definitely Cruzoville is no different. We've been all over the island in the last 3 days, and that's why we feel so much at home. It's
Uh-huh.
exactly the same topography, the landscape, the habitat, everything is similar, the climate, everything is similar. The only difference is that in Cruzoville is inland. We don't have the sea, but we have many big rivers around there. And it was easy for the settlers, the immigrants, to integrate. On one hand, because they were all there together, they had formed friendships during the period they were waiting in Bridgetown, sorry, for the ship to sail. And during the sailing, which lasted just over a month, they come to know each other because they were coming from all over the country, mind you. Indeed, there are reports that even some came from other parts of the Caribbean to come to Barbados to make the trip to Liberia. So it was for them. I think the key thing was the fact that suddenly they had an identity because as part of the trip, the agreement to go there, each of them was given Liberian citizenship on arrival. On the other hand, each of them was given 25 acres of land. So they had land to plow, which they were used to doing that. And then they had citizenship, and they worked and they would live very close, very well among themselves, and they were able to build a big city there, working
Right.
together with
Okay.
the few locals that were in the area at the time.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'd just like to find out about your journey here, what you're discovering. Have you learned anything new, information that you didn't know before? Have you discovered it now? We'll find that out when we come back.
Yep.
Yes.
watching the development of history. You know, people can get, I don't want to use the word uprooted, because they made the choice themselves. It was at the invitation of the Liberian government, and people just wanted to make it better for themselves and their families and their future. So they left Barbados, some 346 of them, made their way to the African continent, to the country of Liberia. Some settled, as Ambassador said, in Crozierville, and others in the capital of Monrovia. And among them, members of their family. And they've done a return visit here to Barbados to seek out what they can find on their family, and perhaps meet new ones. So let's just see how this trip is going for them. I'm not sure if Rodney or Ambassador Lorenzo, you're going to take it. Rodney will. Okay.
Well, we've been here a few days now, and I think there've been a lot of awakening from of the things that we've heard about, the cultural similarities, the, the fruits and vegetables are similar, and the people are similar. Even the surrounding, the settings are similar to what we have back in Liberia. Most of the houses are similar to what we have in Crozierville, where the Bajans settled in 1856. And so it's 65, pardon me. It's been a really eye-opener of something that you grow up as a child hearing the stories about people coming from Barbados and settling in Crozierville. To come back here is a very emotional experience,
I'm
and
sure.
something that we will cherish for a long time to come.
What were some of the stories that you might have heard from your ancestors about Barbados and life here at the time, that now you're seeing
Well,
it might have surprised you?
well, we visited somewhere yesterday, I think around St. Philip's,
Yeah, Irish town.
Irish Town, and we saw some like vase, like the things that we remember being told that those were the things that the Bajans brought to Liberia, and to see them still in the plantation area where most of these Bajans came from, it showed that there were some, a lot of truth to what happened. It showed that um, the cultural similarities, the things we take for granted now that we, exploring, is coming to reality, and these things actually took place. The grapefruit, I mean, the breadfruit, for example, is one of the big fruits in Liberia, and everywhere you turn around in Barbados, you find them,
Hmm.
and it's something that's very, very. It's a journey that we're very, very proud to be part of.
Do you prepare it the same?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, 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 yeah.
We call the one we boil we call that stretch out.
Yeah,
Um,
so sometimes we fry ours, sometimes we boil it,
right?
like potatoes or
Roast it.
potatoes roasted. Yeah, yeah, it's similar.
Hmm.
It's similar, especially during the Civil War. That was something that kept people alive. 'Cause you couldn't find any other food to eat, so the breadfruit was like a lifesaver for a lot of people. And so it's something that come a long way, and it came from here. It came from Barbados, and I think it's something that Prince Port and others who went to Liberia to introduce to Liberian culture, and
Hmm.
so it's something I'm proud of.
What about the language? When they spoke to their children, did they use some of the phrases, and have you come to recognize some of them?
The accents are not. We have the same. We have what we call colloqua, but you have patois kind of like thing. So it's a
Bajan
similar kind.
dialect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's similarities there. I think it's a little bit different, but I think it's it's pretty much the same, just a different concept, a different context of it.
Right.
Intonation.
What do you hope to achieve, and what kind of time frame have you given yourself to achieve it? You know, from this visit and then finally, what's your end goal?
Well, this visit is only for a period of 8 days, so it was largely exploratory. As I mentioned, we were planning, and we still are planning a big, I don't want to say onslaught, but we have relatives all over the diaspora, thanks to the several civil wars. And everybody's excited. I've received, since we've been in the last 3 days, more than 300 WhatsApp messages and emails from people asking me, so when can we come? You know, we're ready to come home, you know, but they are sad. Growing up as kids, we sat on our stairs, just like we see the same stairs at the same houses, and our grandmothers used to tell us a story of their relatives and stuff back in Barbados, as told to them by their grandmothers. You know, indeed, we had a relative, Mr. Best, he was a seaman, and at least maybe once a year, once every 2 years, depending on what they were doing, he would show up in Liberia and he found us and come to our house and
Wow.
bring us candy and chocolates and stuff.
Wow.
And we figured after a while he must have died because he stopped coming. But my grandmother, and they formed a bondage like they were siblings, my grandmother and Mr. Best. My grandmother was a port, but she was married to a Best. And we know that the Best, even though they say my grandfather, George Stanfield Best, came from Trinidad, but in fact, we have relatives in Trinidad that tell us that no, we are hearing that the Best actually came from Barbados.
Wow.
So, regardless of however you cut it, on the one side and on the other side, we are Caribbean. We are Barbadians.
Yes.
You know, and we are proud of this. And that's what every single person in our family. In fact, my daughter, when she went to school, university at McGill University, about 8 years ago, she is the one that got me onto this because she was conscripted by her Barbadian Caribbean friends into the Caribbean Club. And
Wow.
when she said she wasn't Caribbean, she said, Lois, are you kidding? Look at yourself. Listen to how you talk. You know, the accents, the intonations are heavier as we come back and see now. But
Yes.
remembering back then from back home, when I was a boy, for example, they were speaking just like they speak here now. So over time, over the years, it has faded, but it's still the same. It's amazing. It's
That's
different yet it's still,
amazing.
you
It's
know, and
amazing.
as Rodney said, you know, compared to everything else that we do, the things that we do, the things that our habits, the fact that our forebears and our parents are all staunch disciplinarians, as they are here, you know,
It's
it's
strong.
yeah.
It's
I have to
very
hold back
strong.
tears yesterday walking through the farms, the plantations in Irish Banks in Philip. I had to
Thank you
really fight
so
back
much.
tears. Yes.
Unfortunately, time has run away from me, but it was an honor meeting you both, finally getting to put faces to the names. And I certainly wish you well in all that you seek and that you continue to make contact with us here. And thank you so much for watching the Link Up today. I hope you have a safe and healthy weekend. Follow the protocols. See you on Friday when it will be a full 2 hours of Lovers Rock. Are you going to do my trailer?